Hey, welcome to the studio. This afternoon, I thought I would do some more live feed for you and continue to work on this barn painting. I wanted to show you a couple things here. I'll hang on for just a couple minutes. The Someone asked me the other day, basically from my last painting, they asked when I was out painting, I was actually wearing one of these, and so somebody asked me about my shirt, and so I have these Plein Air Force Veteran Squad T-shirts. They have a American flag on the sleeve, and there's a beige color like this, and there's also I had a kind of a army color made up, and it also has the flag on the sleeve. And anyone who purchased one of these from my website, Dennis Tyson, pleinair.com, any profits from this, I'm gonna get these back, get that money back into the program. So anyway, someone asked about them, so there they are, and hopefully you don't mind me sharing that. So let's see, we do live chat here. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and dive into this painting, and obviously I've been thinking a lot about it, and I think I'm going to start. I'm going to start on the sky today. Probably work. Oh, hey Carl, how you doing? Glad to see you there. I'm going to kind of start up in here and maybe define a little bit more of the background here and see if I can't start working my way forward. So I'm going to kind of work on these clouds. Just got to make sure my paper towels are handy. There we go. All right, so I brought a little bit of manganese blue into the palette today. So and what I'm gonna do is create kind of a greenish blue color for the horizon, just a touch of warmth in that, and then I'll lighten that up quite a bit. And I think what I've decided is I'm actually going to have, that got a little chalky, so I'm going to come back with a touch of blue. I think what I've decided is I'm going to actually add another group of trees just in that very far distance. So I'm going to lay a little bit of this in here, but kind of preserve this, just that little bit of area that's right in there. And this is kind of just to get us started here. And that's not enough paint, so let's try that again. A little manganese. Let's get that in there. Just a touch of Viridian. You don't want to go crazy with that. That can hurt you. And then just a little bit of the cad yellow, just to get a little more warmth in that. So, all right. What do you know? I mixed it twice. So we'll just lay some of this in here, and since I'm getting close to kind of a final texture here, or this may be the last time I'm in this particular area, I'm just going to go ahead and leave that fairly textural. Not gonna, well, put it this way, I'm trying not to go over my strokes that I just put down, so that's a good way to say it. All right. And I'm just adding a little more manganese as we get up out of there. And some of this violet blue that's in here. I'm just going to let that be. I'm not going to mess with that too much. And I'm really working not to let this let any of this get chalky on me. So uh, all right, well, check that out. Let's see here. And Carl, this particular Viridian is actually a Georgian brand. When I first started painting oil, period, I was using Georgian almost completely. So I still have quite a few of these kind of larger tubes. I switched to M-gram for quite a while. So the Viridian that I use on my in my plein air box is actually by M-gram. But because Gamblin has been so generous with my my veteran program, I'm actually going to be, as I run out of paint, I'm going to be replenishing those with Gamblin. So there you go. And all right. So come in with some more white here. I'll get some more manganese, and then I'm just going to get a touch of the cobalt in there. And I'm going to work that into here. All right. The white. More manganese. Touch of cobalt. And since I started with I'm using the same brush I started with, kind of a lighter color, it's starting to bleed through a little bit. So I'm hoping there's not a whole lot of glare on that for you. All right, let's get some more white here. I need some manganese in that. I've always been a brush mixer, so it's to take the time to mix it on the palette with a palette knife is just beyond me. I mean, people who do it, I'm actually quite mesmerized by the fact that they can. Now I wanted to do something in this particular area right here, but I'm going to come back to it in a second. I'm just going to get some paint in here, and then I'll come back and kind of work into it. Let's see where we are there. You know, for those of you who watch my Tuesday drive, you know that I not a big not a big fan of stretched canvas because I'm just so not used to it. I guess I paint on panels so much that when this gives, it's kind of hard for me to see get the paint to transfer the way that it normally does for me when I'm actually out painting plein air with a smaller panel. So now I'm getting a little bit darker with the blue here because I want to create a bit of a counter change in this area, and I'm going to use some clouds to do that, but I want a darker blue against this barn top so that I can have a lighter value right in here, because the plan is to have just this area more sunlit right through here than the rest of the painting. So I'm creating a little bit of a darker value. And then there'll be some tops of clouds here, and then the tops of those clouds will actually, I'm just kind of painting in some of the negative shapes now, so that the tops of these clouds that are in here are actually going to give me another counter change with this dark underside, and I'll have some light clouds right through there. So, and kind of going just a little cloud layer just down there on the horizon. So, and so that'll be cloud up in there. I'm going to get a little bit darker here. And then we'll get even slightly darker than that, and I'm going to actually I'm going to put just a touch of the alizarin crimson in this mix, just to warm that up a little bit, and that's going to be up here on the top side of these clouds that are rolling through here. So. I like to just turn the brush, make a stroke, and try and force myself to move on, which some of you know that's not easy. It's not easy for me. Maybe not easy for anybody. I'm not sure. Let's see here. Just want to check occasionally and see who's hanging. Oh, that's good, Carl. Thanks for confirming that there's no glare on there. Sometimes in the room here, it actually looks like it to me. All right, so we'll get some more white and a touch of alizarin. All right, put that right in here. Now I wanted the blue to just go right up the middle here, kind of around these two banks of clouds. And then we're going to have kind of a bigger cloud up here. All right, so let's get some more cobalt, touch of alizarin. That got red in a hurry, so let's cool that back down. Let's see how that is. Yeah, that's pretty good. Now I have I'm using a rosemary ultimate long flat in case anybody was wondering, and this one happens to be a kind of a fresh number 6, so it's not a filbert yet, which happens frequently. They become filberts eventually. All right, so we're just going to come under there a little bit. And I need to lighten that a couple shades. Getting chalky, and that's kind of chalky, so I'm going to go back into here. All right, so just going to leave this brush with the blue on it for a second. I'm going to go for a kind of a cleaner brush, and I'm going to mix a gray. I'm going to take my cat orange and mix that in some of my blue, and that's going to give me kind of a warm gray. And that's that value is way too dark, so I gotta lighten that considerably. So we're gonna come back to here, and I just want a little bit of warmth. It was pretty warm the whole time I was out in this particular region. So I just want some of the underside of these clouds just to have a little bit of that warmth. And I noticed this in one of Stephen's paintings that he sent me the other day. I was really attracted to the warmth that he had in his clouds. So I'm going to bring this one over just a little bit. It's not going to take a whole lot to do this. And then off in the distance here, I'm going to go even a little bit lighter value. And I'm going to blue that even a little bit more. Just going to come in here with some other smaller, it's not going to take a lot to say this, but there's some other smaller clouds that are kind of in the distance here as these, you know how you get those cloud streets that kind of build up as they go off into the distance. So, and I'm trying to be random, not wanting to create any real, like I don't want to come right off of this point or anything like that, so I'm slightly above it, and we'll just work a few of these into this area. And as soon as I come back with this, let's put some in here, just cutting through there, and then adjusting the value by just picking up some of the color around it, and this will help us tell this story of what's going on in this as we get closer to us. And then as we get up here, there's going to be more of this. because we can see the kind of the underside of this cloud, and then as they move back, we can see more of the top, a little bit of the bottom. The further back we get, we can see less of the tops, and the top, almost the top and the bottom almost becomes the same size. So we're going to put some of this color up in this cloud area here. And we'll work our way over here. All right. And I'll go back to the other brush I had. Let me get some of the gray out of this one. And I'm going to clean that one out real quick. Okay. Now I'm going to just get some cloud tops, kind of tops going, and I want just a touch of warmth in this, and so I'm going to start with a little bit of cat orange in there. I might even touch a little bit of the cad yellow, although it tends to go a little bit more lemon than I want, so I'll just take the cad orange and tone that down. So like I mentioned before, you know, the light is coming in over here, so I'm just kind of laying in what will be sort of the mid-tone. So I'm using the color that's already on here. I'm just mixing with it. If that gets too just too like bright white, you have enough paint on here. Since you're working over top, you can actually kind of deal with it. So. And these are just kind of puffy clouds that were kind of rolling through that day. And then we can go in the distance here and just create a little bit of light on top of these. And then I'll just kind of soften the edges of these a little bit just by pushing away from the paint. So I'm just kind of pushing up and away, and it just kind of creates some wispiness. It's almost like scumbling, which would be more like this, but I'm trying to take some of this paint and actually just kind of force it up and out of there. So all right, let me see if there's anything I need to pay attention to here. Oh, hey, Steven. Let's see. Thanks for saying that, Dennis. You're welcome, man. A cool thing can happen. Let's see what Steven said here. He says, a cool thing that can happen here in the late afternoon, evening when the sun bounces on the Puget Sound and illustrates. Yeah, it's, I mean, a lot of times the ground is catching the light. I mean, the underside of those clouds are really catching whatever the ground is reflecting up. And hey, Deb, it's nice to see you. Yeah, so you're right, man. So I'll think about how we're gonna have some lights just where we're kind of hitting up under here, but for the most part we only see the underside of this one. So I'm going to stick with these kind of these gray colors up in here. Let's see, let's mix that again. Touch of cat orange in this here. And then we'll go back to our light color, touch of cad, just a little bit of that. All right. Now I'm going to switch gears for a minute, and I am just absolutely astonished that 29 minutes have gone by. This always happens. I mean, like 1 hour just like breezes by. So I'll try not to talk too much, and hopefully. Oh, last time I noticed when the playback came that my whole setup was flipped around, so I've turned my phone over this time, and hopefully I got this right. And you're actually seeing the barn going from the right side to the left side instead of the barn going from the left side to the right side. So if you're seeing something different than what I'm explaining, I apologize. But I had the phone flipped over the other way last time, and so the palette was actually over here. I don't. Maybe no one except for me even noticed that. Okay, so I'm gonna jump to this. To kind of this area right in here, and as a matter of fact, I'm gonna scrape a little bit of this off of here. Kind of clear up the middle of this palette some. All right. So this ground, take some orange and some, and then we're gonna blue that. It's really quite dark right up underneath this right up underneath here. So, and then where this whole side is in shadow, that dark kind of rusty brown color is actually kind of falling all the way through here, and it might even be slightly darker as this rolls through here. So I'm just going to take some of this and kind of get this rusty color in here. And then this is actually going to kind of set up a counter change for us on this tree trunk, where we'll actually have we'll have a lighter tree against kind of this darker background. So all of this ground is kind of falling away from the barn, so take some red and orange. It's kind of all this clay sort of dirt here. Yellow that up a slight bit. Get some more orange in that. Except on that side. Then I'm going to take some cat orange here. I'm going to yellow it slightly, and we're going to set that right in here, which will start kind of introducing how the sun is coming through here. So just picking kind of a mid-tone between those two. And as we get further away from the building, it'll get, this dirt will get a little bit lighter. And one thing I'm trying to be conscious of is I want all of this to be very random. So because the dirt is just sort of laying in here, and the grass is actually going to kind of grow into it. So not being super careful, I'm just letting the brush kind of scoot its way out of there, leaving a little color behind, no problem. So and then we're pretty dark. Let me go back in here. Right underneath here, it's like the dirt is missing it right underneath there. So we've got a really dark line that's running through there. And then we're even bluer on this side here, where the building itself is casting this shadow. It's pretty dark, so so this whole area here. And then these let's see what we've got here. So that's a really nice warm gray. I'm gonna blue that down. This kind of this pile of wood that rests in here, it's just got a little bit of a highlight on top of it. So just starting to introduce just a few of these things into this foreground area. So it's just kind of a blue-gray. Kind of looks nice there. All right, now we'll go into this background. I'm just going to drag a little bit of this in here since it's such a nice color and the brush is loaded with it. right, and the green will come up into here. And then we need this darker color again, so an orange. It's going to be in here. And then I want to get some of this orange because and then right in here next to this white, it's pretty orange, and that's even too dirty to do anything with. So I'm gonna have to come back to that. There we go. Dennis, are you painting left-handed? I am not. I am actually painting right-handed. This is my right hand. Is that the way that you're seeing it? I hope so. Let's see. I guess I'll find out in a second if somebody could reply back. This is actually my right hand, so this is the right side instead of the left side. I got it right once, so I hope it's right. Hope it's right again. All right, so I'm gonna keep going here. That would be something really interesting to see. However, if I could do that, I'm not sure that I'm capable of that. This white that's back here, it's not completely white. It's got a little bit of yellow in it, so just gonna lay some of that in right on this edge where it's catching more of the light than I picked up that orange in a hurry, so and I'm just gonna do the top edge of this with a little bit of and that gets kind of blue, and the further back we get here, it's even more blue, almost maybe this color back in here, almost a sky blue. All right. Let's see here. Hello, Dennis. The video is mirrored. Apple felt it necessary that the image shown to you is that in the mirror because I thought it was. So, I suppose that means there's nothing I can do about it, huh, Carl? So if I flip it over, I hope you don't mind me experimenting with this. I'm gonna actually flip this over and hopefully you don't get dizzy on me. Rotate device back. Oh, you know what? Yeah, then when I flipped it, Apple actually told me that, hey, it's locked, so you can't flip it back. So it must be that once I go live, I don't have an option. But strange that I got it to work the right way the first time. Maybe yeah, I guess we'll see. We'll see what happens when the playback is created. But I apologize if this is completely annoying to you. But I'll keep rolling here because it's certainly annoying to me. I think what's annoying is that I can't seem to figure this out. All right, so I'm going to create kind of a warm gray, and then I'm going to go really light with it. It may be that it gets reversed when the video is saved. Yeah, that could be. So maybe when it's saved this time, it'll actually go the right direction. Um, we'll see what happens. So let's see what this looks like. That's pretty much the blue gray that I have there. I just took a look. Your first experiment live stream was not mirrored. I don't mind. I enjoy the live stream. Okay, cool. Oh, and let me say, you know, for those of you that have dropped in on my live stream, I really do appreciate it. I mean, it's always nice to see a few numbers up here in the top of the screen to know that I'm not all alone. And since the scheduling thing was such a disaster, and I just couldn't get it to go live after I did a scheduled one, I just decided I'm just gonna have to do them impromptu, and until I can actually get some time to fully study that and figure it out. So okay, I think this gray is pretty close to what we've got going on here, and that white that I just grabbed was partially dry, so now I've got a bunch of stuff in here. Excuse me. I'm gonna take put a little manganese in that. There's this one area of the roof that's right in here that is like really light, so and almost lighter than the sky value. So this could need to come down another notch. So I'm going to actually go with some blue and some of that orange color there, and come in here. There we go. Just thinking about that value. So I'm trying to keep this angle here the same, but this part of the barn roof right in here has got the lightest value, which is kind of my focal point anyway. So and there's just a little bit on the tip here, and now we'll see if our counter change actually worked out, which it looks like it did. So there's a little bit of rust in this, which I'll actually bring back here in a minute. So I'm just going to lay some of this in just in the same direction that the roof is going. It's actually 10 panels, so intentionally trying to keep some of these strokes separated, just to create a little bit of that look through there. So and so this area right here, that's picking up shadow from the other one. So in this area, I'm going to actually leave that sort of that gray color for now, and I'll go back in and put some more of this lighter value through here. And then it's really light, kind of right on this edge here, so I'll finish this out. Let's see. And then I'll just kind of use kind of a sharp edge of the brush and just kind of let that flow along this edge here for a second. And I can cut back into that without any trouble. So this kind of stops right here. All right. And then this is under there. That is actually, this color that's underneath here is actually closer to this sky color. except not that I need to pick up some of this gray here. It's got a lot of blue in it. It's in this range here. So let me come back in here on the lower side. Let's get that a little more blue in that maybe. There we go. So that's down in here. Right up against there. But then it's quite a bit darker. And I need that, kind of get that color, so let's do a little orange in that. Just took that violet that I created and I hit it with some cat orange, and that just kind of kills it a little bit. So so this is going to come under here a little bit, just right under that roof edge, and then it actually kind of runs right down next to this roof, so that there's a bit of a highlight right in the middle, and it gets light on that edge. So. Okay. Now this roof toward the back here actually gets quite violet, so I'm going to come back into this this kind of violet that I've created, this gray sort of violet color here, and I'm going to do something similar as I did there, and that's pretty good. And that same color actually sort of lives like in here, in some of these low areas. Right in here, and then it'll actually get a little bit of rust on it as I come through here too. But I'll start with, just gives it a nice mid-tone. There isn't so much in this highlighted area, except maybe right through here. There's a little bit. Just adds some nice texture. It's helping delineate these individual panels. And then there's more blue. You just blew that up real quick. When you get back in here, it's got a lot of blue to it. So this will be kind of the opposite. It'll have this kind of violet blue color. And then I'll actually take some white and I'll come through it this way, and it's just another counter change. It's just where I've got the sun's just catching a few of the tops of these panels as they run through this kind of violet area here. So, and then when you get right out here on the tip, it's lighter right there. So, hopefully you can see that. It's pretty subtle, but. All right. So then this violet color here is actually the majority of this roof, except it's pretty light right in that area, right up here toward the top where the sun is probably the most intense on it. So let me just lay this over this red. Some of this in here. And I'm going to end up doing the opposite here that I did over here, where I came back with the light. I'm going to actually come back in here with some tones that are darker than the ones that I'm currently laying down. So and I'm just checking this angle to make sure. And of course, as this moves back in perspective, these lines get a little bit flatter, so they're actually coming across you know, a little bit more in perspective. So they start out flatter here, and then they get more toward there. Actually, if you got way out here, you would see how flat they actually do get. But just gonna lay this in here. And I'm just painting right over top of these trees because the tree is in front of them, so I got to come back and define that anyway. So now I'll take this color and I'll actually get a little more cobalt in it. I'll get it bluer, and we'll get it like a shade darker, and then pretty much from this area down is where most of that, and it's about the same value as this right in here. Is up in here. So, and I think what's happening is the majority of this area, number one, it's being filtered by, we're looking through these trees, so the light back here is being filtered by that, and as well, I think all of the canopy and stuff that's up here, even though it doesn't have a lot of leaves on it, it's actually creating some shade back in here, which for this particular composition, it helps us because I'm actually trying to sort of downplay this area here anyway, because I want this to be the kind of the central focal point. So and this, we'll work this more as we go, but I just wanted to get enough in here to sort of keep track of where we're headed. All right, that angle, that one got a little flat, so it's got to come off more. All right, and I'll take this one here, and we'll just come in here on the, and this has got some light areas right on the top here, right up here on the peak. Which provides a nice transition from, you know, from this one to this one. All right, so I'm going to go with that for now, and I'll do just a little bit more. Let's see, I love old barns and houses. Thank you. Yeah, you're welcome, Barbara Ann. Me too, and you know, I don't actually. My wife is always telling me I should paint more barns, and I don't. So hopefully, I'm going to do that, because this is really a lot of fun, and when you see it start to kind of emerge from the landscape. Yeah, you're right, Deb. When on my drive, Deb just said that on my drive she notices that I pass a lot of beautiful red barns, and you're absolutely right. I don't paint those as much as I should, and I know there are probably people all over the world who wish they had access to those barns to paint them, and but I'm inspired by this one. So I think I don't know if you remember, but in my talk I was saying that one of the reasons why I decided I wanted to start doing some larger studio paintings was just to refine some of the skills that I'm working on, because it gives me more time to consider it, and rather than you know, it seems like when I'm out plein air painting, I start a painting, and you know, I have a time limit typically, and so I just because of other things going on in my life, it's not like I'm imposing a time limit. It's just that typically I don't have all the time in the world, so there's usually other things going on. So I just kind of jam through those, and It's not till later that I actually get a lot of time to just really kind of step back and consider the painting. Where in this particular case, it's completely opposite. I mean, I mentioned to Sarah Barnes this week that I actually I think I'm spending too much time contemplating, and I need to spend more time painting on this. So I just decided that when I'm in here and I'm working on this, I'm just going to put the live on, and if anyone's available, they can stop in and check it out and see how that's going. Um, so that's kind of where we are with the roof for now. So I'm going to let that go, and I just want to do a couple more things before before I check out here. Um, I want to work a little bit in this background, and there's still more to do. Obviously, in the I pretty much stopped right here with the sky, and there'll be more highlights to add here later. But I don't want to add these highlights in here until I'm confident that I've got these value separations nailed down, and then I can figure out where to go with the sky. And I've left myself plenty of room because, you know, if I just take titanium white, you can see, you know, if I just lay that in there, you can see that I've left myself quite a distance that I can go in value from where I'm at to this here. So, but I don't really want to define that yet. So not until I get some of this worked out. Now this lower part of the barn is actually going to be really similar to the way I just kind of did some of the roof. It'll be doing kind of these vertical strokes that are going to kind of define this barn wood that's here, and so that process will go differently. It's more kind of a purpley gray, sort of like these, but a little grayer, and we'll get to those later. So they're not in my immediate plan today. So anyway, I'm going to drop out of that one, and I'm going to move over to these trees that are in the background here. And like I mentioned earlier, I wanted to create another set of trees, and we're already in the color range here. And those other trees are kind of back in there. It's going to change the value of that. This is very, very blue gray. I'm just going to cut in here real quick. And then you can actually, you know, in some of these areas, not that one specifically, but you'll be able to see some of that tree line kind of breaking through here. So I'm just going to indicate a few spots where you can see through this forward section, and you can actually see this this blue that's back in here, and it's a lot of tree trunks and things, so I can kind of make some vertical strokes, which will outline kind of some of the trees that you're looking through. And so I don't create a weird tangent. I do the same thing here. I'll just step back into here, and I'll add a little bit of that in here as well. And I'm just scumbling the brush. It has very dry paint on it, and so it's just kind of coming off the brush. As I just move it up and down, I just rotate it a little bit, and then some of it comes off of there. So, and the eye actually pieces all this together, so it sort of figures out that, you know, hey, that tree line that's back there actually runs in behind these. So, and then the ones that are in the foreground, and the tops of those have quite a bit of sky in them. So I got to go back to some fresh color. So I'll take some manganese, get some white, just a dab of iridium, and we'll warm that up just a touch. That was a pretty good sized touch. I want to go a little bit darker value than what I have here. So And now I'll just come back in and we're going to kind of cut into the tops of some of these, since we're dealing with kind of these upper branches and things, which are kind of loose. And I can still scumble back over the top of those if I want to. But by softening these edges, it'll help me tell the story that, you know, these are trees that don't have any leaves on them. And so this color is going to stop at the, obviously at the top of these trees. So we don't want to cut in any further than we have to there. But just some sky holes, a few things in this area. And I can actually maybe lighten that just a little bit. Just softening the edges and kind of cutting in and and then I want a little bit darker value just down in here at the base of these trees. That even though they're in the distance, they are going to have some always down next to the ground. They're going to be darker because, I mean, this is where all the bushes and stuff are growing down in here. So so there's always a little bit darker right here at the base. And I'm having trouble getting that, so I'll get a little more of an orange color here, a little blue orange. There we go. Just keeping it blue so it stays in the background here, but I do want it. And then when you get a couple of tree trunks that they're growing up there, then you can just kind of cut through and indicate some of those with the dark color and with the light color where the light's hitting it. So there I picked up some of the light. And then on the other side, it's actually a little bit lighter. So because that's where the light is hitting. Barns here in north central Alberta are not being used, and they're falling into disrepair. Oh, that is sad. I love seeing all the barns around here. So I'm going to go with kind of a lighter color over here on this side, because now we're kind of on the sun side. So I'm just going to carry this kind of this lower bushy area kind of out in front of the trees here. And I'll have some darks kind of running vertically here, some up in here on the shadow sides, and then I'll keep this kind of this gray color down below here. All right. So that's looking pretty good. And then this, I'll do just a couple more things. This ground that's back there, maybe I'll wait on that. Yeah, I think I will. I think I'll leave that ground. I'll leave that ground for now. And one thing I wanted to do though is I want to come in and I really want to get this orange nailed down, because it's a lot oranger than right in here. Some of this orange color is just really orange because of the dirt and stuff, the clay that's in here. So and I can just see it kind of on this top section for the most part. And again, this is kind of our highlight area, so I don't mind, you know, changing the value in this area. Get a little brighter, a little more chroma. And that just sort of disappears as you get back here. You can only see it kind of up on the top section here because we're getting more into shadow. So we'll just drop a little bit of that orange in here, and that helps it correlate with what we've done on the ground here. So that makes really clear what's going on. And I'm just going to come in here and drop a little bit of it back in here, just so it does the same thing. It helps tell the story that what's happening here is the same thing that's happening here. So and it gives me a chance to kind of soften some of those edges back there. Okay, so it's 67 minutes, and that just like, wow, that just blew by. But I think we made some good progress today. So there's a good chance I'll be working on this again tomorrow, and so when I do, you'll get another live notice, and we'll paint some more. All right, I'll catch you later.